And we're back talking with Doyle, with State Representative Doyle Heffley. As always, the indomitable Hunter Kipe. And on the ones and twos, Chuck Nichols. And Doyle, what are we talking about today? I hear it's education.
Yeah, the big thing this week here in the House is education and the basic education funding formula and the commission report. The Democrat majority in the State House this week chose to run a bill out of the Education Committee that was dropped. It's an 84-page bill. It was dropped one day and then voted out of committee the next day. And in the timeline that they did that, they fast-tracked it. They blocked the opportunity for any amendments at all to be filed to this report or this piece of legislation. So they actually ran the committee vote and voted the bill after the deadline to file amendments on second consideration, which is problematic because this bill is huge. It's about half of the state budget, and it was just a Democrat-led initiative, no consultation with anybody else. And what the bill does is it changes the basic ed funding formula, which is something that I have supported, right? Adjusting.
Something needs to be done.
Yeah, something needs to be done. The funding formula and the costing out study from years ago has really set up a situation where there are schools that are not receiving adequate funding. And we actually addressed that with a new funding formula back in, I think, 2016. We changed the formula to drive new dollars out. And then we were putting about $225 million a year into what's called level up funding for those schools to bring them up to where they should be. Last year, the Democrats and Governor Shapiro cut that funding from the schools, and it was one reason why I voted against the budget last year. But moving forward now, we have a proposal, and this is strictly a Democrat proposal. The Funding Commission, the majority report, was run by the House Democrats, and the House Republicans offered their own minority report, but there was no give and take, no conversation about it. And basically, they also lumped in an issue with charter schools and reducing some of the funding. And I believe there are some issues that we could work on. We did years ago. We don't, like charter schools, cyber charter schools do not get reimbursed for busing services. They don't get reimbursed for meals and lunches. They get about 75% of what the school district's spending per pupil charter schools receive. So it's actually less money. They really cut that even more. And there really wasn't any... there were no hearings on that or no really big discussion as to how we can better do that. Parents that choose to send their kids to cyber charter or charter schools make a choice. And we see it all the time on the news, all the CRT crap that's out there, all the DEI stuff that's being pushed on these kids, some of the things that they're pushing in these schools with a woke liberal agenda. Parents want their children to be able to go to a school, a safe school, and learn how to read, write, do arithmetic, and come out of school with the ability to either enter college or join the workforce and be successful. That's what our public education system should be about. A lot of parents are opting out of their regular public schools to go to public charter schools because the students aren't learning that. So I don't want to take any of that choice away. At the end, this is like a $5 billion additional spend in basic education. And one out of every four of those dollars is going to one particular school district in a city of the first class in southeastern PA. The Philadelphia School District they're going to get a windfall. Over $1 billion, well over almost $1.5 billion of this $5 billion is going to go just to that one school district, one in every $4. So I think there's a lot of issues with it. The other thing is property taxes. So if we're going to be putting more money into basic education, property tax payers should be seeing some relief. This bill does not require any school district, when they receive those extra dollars through the new funding formula, to actually reduce property taxes. Now, they stood up on the House floor, the leader Bradford, and said, oh, this is going to provide property tax relief. But it doesn't. There's nothing in here that says that school districts can't also raise property taxes. There's nothing saying that they have to take the additional dollars they receive and lower property taxes. This is just going to be a windfall.
So where's all the money coming from then?
Well, it's going to be taxpayer money.
Okay.
I mean, and the problem...
Even though they're saying that it's not going to be increased.
taxpayer dollars, or the additional dollars are going to be going in. Now, I think the governor is looking at using some of the surplus and some of the rainy day funds that we have through fiscal responsibility and helping our economy grow. Over the last 8 years, we were able to build that rainy day fund up, and they're going to spend that down in 2 years, and there's going to have to be a tax increase. I mean, they already this year, the House Democrats voted for a $3.5 billion PIT tax increase, and they called it the family medical leave legislation. But that was a huge tax increase, $3.5 billion. That's how they're going to fund it. They were holding hearings in Philadelphia, but 2 months ago on another major tax increase that the Democrats are going to be coming out with. So there's a lot of smoke and mirrors right now, but for them to stand up on the floor and say this is somehow going to reduce property taxes when it doesn't require school districts to reduce property taxes when they get this additional money, they're not being truthful to the residents of PA and what this bill does and what it doesn't do.
Let's get back to something you mentioned a little bit earlier, in that most of this money is going to, not most of the money, a good portion of this money is going to go to Philadelphia, and it doesn't.
One school district.
One school district. Mm-hmm. It doesn't really benefit as much for the more rural schools. Mm-hmm. Most of us are products of rural schools. Mm-hmm. There's not a whole lot of options out there. Is this why they're fast-tracking, speed-running this bill? Why are we hammering through so fast?
I think this is just a political stunt, right? I mean, there were press releases out that this bill was going to run, I mean, as it was coming out of committee, and they dropped the bill the day before, right? There was no vetting of this legislation, because I think we could have got there. Like, I support a new funding formula, right? I support ensuring that, and a lot of Carbon County schools will benefit from this funding. I want to make sure that those dollars are going to come back to the schools that need it, not just go to one school district in the southeast, but come back to all the schools that need it. But then also, I want to make sure that the taxpayers, which are burdened with extremely high property taxes, especially in northeastern PA, are going to see some relief. And this does not guarantee any property tax relief. It gives the option to the school district that they can use it for this. But it doesn't take away their ability to continue to raise property taxes up to the rate of inflation. So school districts can already do that, and that's okay when inflation was 1 or 2%. But inflation was 8%, and if we get 4 more years of this guy in the White House, inflation could be 12 or 20%. I mean, look at your grocery bill right now. So there's a lot of implications to this, and what they're saying about it and what it's going to do are two different things. I support a new funding formula. I don't support somehow taking parents' choices away that choose to send their kids to a private school or to a charter school. They should have that choice. If their school is failing, they should be able to take their child and put it in a school that's productive. Children only get 1 year in 3rd grade and 1 year in 4th grade. They can't. This isn't like, oh, we're gonna try something. Parents that make the decision to take their kids out of a school and put them into a cyber charter are doing that because their school district is failing. We should make sure that the school districts that have been historically underfunded are going to receive the proper money. But we also need to make sure that we're not just throwing more dollars after a bad concept. We need to have more flexibility. There should be more, telelearning. We don't need maybe a German teacher in every school district if you can share that teacher through teleservices and through online learning as an option. We should be integrating these things instead of just saying we're just going to throw $5 billion more dollars. We're already 7th in the nation in per pupil spending in the state. Now we're going to give $5 billion more dollars and no accountability in any of it at all. That's a problem. These are taxpayer dollars. These are dollars that come out of my pocket and your pocket and the residents of Carbon County, and there needs to be a better system in place. We have a golden opportunity right now to transform our education system, to give parents choices, and to fully fund our schools and relieve that burden on the taxpayer and on the property taxpayer, and the Democrats are just throwing it away.